all of you before we did get started today. First of all, thank you for joining us, and I wanted to say congratulations to everybody, all of you who received funding through our 2020 Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund cycle. For those who aren't aware, this last year's cycle was a very competitive one. We received 51 applications requesting more than $15 million in assistance through the Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We were able to award out 31 projects, investing a little over $10.2 million in trust funds this year across the state. So we're very excited to work with you as you kick off your 2020 projects. As we get started, I want to tell you sincerely thank you. You guys are the first group of housing applications that went through the application process in AmpliFund. It's our first program to go through that process. I know there were some hiccups and some hurdles along the way. Thank you for working with us on those. Thank you for your patience thus far. And then I just want to, as we begin and as we jump into managing our projects in AmpliFund, I want to ask you for your patience. I want to ask you for your forgiveness. I know there's going to be some challenges, some hiccups along the way. We're all going to be learning. And so thank you for joining us on this journey. It is going to be a journey for us to learn. Every day my team comes to work and we're learning more and more about AmpliFund and how to manage the system and how to manage our projects in there. So as we embark on this journey, please have patience with us. Please have forgiveness if we make mistakes or if we have to take some time just to research a question. I think patience is going to be very important from everybody's standpoint as we take on these projects. So with that, I believe those are kind of all the items I wanted to mention. And I guess I just wanted to mention today is kind of the first training we're offering. Well, it's the second training we're offering to our awardees. We had one last week too, but it's going to be the first of many. There's going to be a series of trainings for all of you who have received awards. And so we will, over the next few months, over the next year, we're going to be offering multiple trainings so you can better understand AmpliFund and you can better manage your awards in AmpliFund. So continue to work with your program rep and watch for information from us as we roll out those trainings. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who is going to lead us in our training today. And I believe Evan went ahead and started recording the training. So today's trainings will be recorded, and if you need to refer back to it, or if you have another team member who would like to watch it in the near future, the recording will be made available to you. So with that, Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm glad to have you on our team today and glad you're here to train us on AmpliFund.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thanks for joining, everybody, and congratulations. Today, as Lynn mentioned, we're going to be going through some steps within AmpliFund to walk through what some of the initial actions you'll be taking in the system. So as you already all know, we've been awarded, and again, congratulations. And during kind of the initial process, there are definitely some specific actions that you can take in AmpliFund to provide information about your award, to provide information back to DED housing staff as well. And that's really what we want to go over. I have a slide that just kind of talks about some of the actions that you'll be able to take and that you'll be asked to take within AmpliFund as we go through the initial contract negotiation period. The initial negotiation period. So we're going to go through an overview of those specific actions to complete. And then also I have a slide that walks through some basic navigation. For a lot of us, we're used to AmpliFund within the applicant portal, but reporting in AmpliFund as a recipient, it's going to look a little bit different. So I want to talk about some of those navigational pieces there. And then I'm going to dive into AmpliFund itself, and we're going to go through an in-product demonstration, and we're going to take a look at how to do all the specific actions that I'm walking us through today. As we're going through the presentation today, if you have any questions, I encourage you to ask questions, and just let me know if you need any clarification on anything. This is a great opportunity to not only just kind of walk through some of the initial first steps that we're looking at, but also to to interact and we can get any questions that you have answered. So with that, I'm going to get started with our first slide, which is essentially an overview of the specific actions you can complete in AmpliFund. And one of the first things that we're going to be taking a look at today is, upon logging in, the ability to add users into your AmpliFund account. So it may be the scenario where you have other individuals within your organization that you may want to bring into AmpliFund in order for them to be able to perform specific actions on an award that you've received, in order for them to review any details that you've added. So you have the ability to add unlimited users into your AmpliFund recipient account, and you can ensure that by taking the steps to add users, that you'll be able to add in anyone else from within your organization that has responsibilities or that has the need to access your award. So we're going to go through how to add users and invite them into the system. We're going to talk through how to actually view your award. We'll look at how to access it, how to go through the specific details of the award that you have, and then also how to edit specific things on that award, such as your ability to indicate to housing staff who the grant manager is on your end. So we're going to take a look at that. Another important piece is the budget, of course. One of the things that you'll be able to do within AmpliFund is you'll be able to access the budget. You'll see mostly what was provided and what you provided within the application on the budget template. And you'll be able to go in and edit some of the amounts. You'll be able to add and edit different line items in there according to what's been agreed upon and what's been discussed within the contracting period. So within the review process. So you'll be able to go in and either add budget items or edit existing budget items to account for any of those changes or any of those things you wanted to make. In addition to that, you'll be able to do the same thing with the performance plan. You'll be able to edit your performance plan goals. What you'll see in your account is similar to what you provided again in the application within that performance plan template. So you'll be able to view those metrics, those deliverables that you propose to accomplish, and you'll be able to edit those and add new ones as well that may have come up within the review process. In addition to being able to add in your budget and your performance plan, you'll also be able to access special conditions forms within AmpliFund. You'll be able to review those special conditions forms, and you'll be able to go through each of them. You'll be able to add information to them. So whereas previously, if you're familiar with the special conditions, you're filling out paper copies of those. This time you'll be able to fill those out electronically within AmpliFund. And you'll also be able to upload and share documents with DED housing staff. And you'll also be able to view any documents that they've shared with you in our document folders as well. So I want to make sure that we cover that in addition to all the other items, because that is going to be a useful tool, especially moving forward, the ability to share documents back and forth with DED. This is the only other slide that I have today before we actually dive in and look at look in AmpliFund and start looking at the specific actions and the information in our award. Well, what I wanted to do was I did want to talk about some of the basic navigation. Again, a lot of us gone through the application process and we're familiar with the applicant portal navigation. So I did want to just present what some of the differences are going to look like and they're going to be in terms of completing and navigating through AmpliFund as a recipient. You'll notice that when you log in, the first thing you see a calendar. And on that calendar, you'll see any tasks that are assigned to you, any upcoming reports, any upcoming items that are due as well. Anything that's been assigned from DED housing staff, you'll be able to see that on your calendar. You'll also have three main pieces of navigation. So they're marked with the numbers 1, 2, and 3 here. So the first piece of navigation is our left navigation menu, and that's going to show up on every page. The left navigation menu is going to be your main portal to all the different areas within your AmpliFund account. As you can see here, you have different sections within your activity. The ones that we're going to be looking at and focusing on today are your administration section and your grant management section. That's where you'll be able to add users. And in the grant management section, you'll be able to add in, you'll be able to view your grant, edit those details, and that's where you'll be able to access the different, the grant budget, your documents folder, and some of those other items there. So that's going to be one thing that you'll be able to do through the left navigation menu. It's essentially going to be probably the most used piece of navigation, as you can kind of go back and forth to the different areas within the left navigation menu there. The other thing that you'll be able to do is you'll be able to utilize your user drop-down menu, which is number 2. Within the user drop-down menu, that'll be specific to you and your username. There you'll be able to see your account information, you'll be able to change your password, securely log out, the typical options that you would see associated with user options. And then also you'll have your icon toolbar, which is navigation piece number 3 here. In the icon toolbar, we'll have different icons that allow you to perform different functions depending on what page that you're on. If the icons that you're looking at that are within that tab may vary based on the page that you're on. If you ever have any doubt about what one of the icons does, then you can just hover your mouse over it and it'll tell you exactly what it does. So those are the 3 main pieces of navigation that you'll be experiencing and that you'll be utilizing once you log in. And speaking of logging in, that is going to be our next step here. So I am going to switch my screen over into AmpliFund, and we are going to get started. And we'll get started with some of that basic navigation that I was talking about, and then work our way into building out users and all the associated actions that we want to look at today. All right. So again, upon logging into AmpliFund, you will see here, you'll be able to see the calendar on your screen, as I mentioned. And here is the left navigation menu that you'll be utilizing to access the different areas of your account. As I mentioned before, the most used and the main sections we're going to be looking at today are going to be our activity section, or the grant management section here, where you'll be able to see your grants. And then the administration section, which is where we're actually going to start today, and you'll be able to see your users and add new users. I just want to point out before we get there, if you go in the top right-hand corner, this is that user drop-down menu that I was talking about. So this is going to see where you're logged in, and you'll be able to see account information. Here you'll be able to change your password. You'll have access to a message center that'll compile all messages that have been sent through the system. Through AmpliFund. You'll have help and support options here. You'll be able to review terms and conditions, and then you'll also be able to securely log out as well. And then this is going to be that icon toolbar that I was talking about, where it'll have different icons depending on which area of the system we're at. You're going to be able to see kind of how you can interact and how those icons change depending on what area of the system we're looking at. And if you ever had any doubts, again, about what one of the icons does, you can just hover your mouse over it, and it tells you exactly what it does. So now that we've gone over some of the basic navigation elements, let's focus on our first action, which is if we wanted to add in additional users to our account to provide access to other individuals. So if I wanted to add users, then I would go into my administration section here. And under administration, I would go to system security and click on users. Once I do this, it's going to provide me with a list of all existing users that I have in my account. So I see I have 2 users. Maybe there's somebody else that I want to add in here to make sure that I can assign them to things, or make sure that I'm providing visibility to others within my organization to the grant that we were awarded. So if I wanted to go ahead and add a user, I can go ahead and click on the plus sign here in my icon toolbar in the top right-hand corner. And you'll notice that as I hover my mouse over that plus sign, it's going to tell me that that's the create button. So as I go in, I go to create my user role, or I go to create my user here, and there's a few options that I have as I'm creating my user. The first thing that I'm going to be able to do is for this new person that I'm creating here as a user, we'll be able to indicate what their email preferences are. So AmpliFund will send them scheduled notifications, anything that they may need to see within their AmpliFund account, any tasks that are assigned from housing come via email. So basically what we're deciding here is how often this user wants to receive emails. Do they want to receive them daily or weekly? Now, just because they subscribe to daily emails does not mean they're going to get an email from AmpliFund every day, just on the days when something is assigned to them. If they sign up for weekly emails only, then that means that they just get one email at the beginning of the week with all their upcoming tasks instead of getting those on the day that they're assigned. So it's up to you how you set up these preferences. You can have both checked. Applicant portal access, again, all of these applications started within the applicant portal. So if you wanted to provide access to that, you could. This would provide them with access into the application that was already created for where this award was granted. The security role here, organizational admin, that's going to provide them with access to all the different pieces of the award information. And then we have staff information. And it's really important to note that there's 3 required fields when we're creating a user. We need to know what their first name, last name, and email address is. You'll note that there's a lot of other fields here when we're creating a user, but the only required fields that we have are first name, last name, and email address. So when I'm creating my user, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to type in my user's name. They have to have an email address, first name, last name, email address. I'm just using some sample data here. And once we have those 3 required fields populated, you can populate the optional ones, but it's not required. You can go ahead and click on create to add that user in. So again, first name, last name, email address are the required fields when we're creating a user. Now, one other thing that I want to note here is just because I've created this user, like we've just done, it doesn't mean that this user automatically has access to AmpliFund. There's an additional step that's required to actually invite them into the system. So once my user is created, I'm ready to actually invite them and provide them with access to AmpliFund. I'm going to go into the top right-hand corner here in my icon toolbar, and notice there's a little envelope icon. If I click the send invitation button on the envelope icon, that's going to send an invitation email to the user. Within that email is going to be a link where they're going to be able to create a password and they'll be able to log in. So the process of creating a user and inviting them in is a 2-step process where first we have to create the user, and next we actually have to take the secondary step, secondary action of inviting them in. There's also something that's really a convenient view for us to utilize in order to see who's been invited in and who's actually logged on. So if we go to this administration section here, and if I click on users, again, I'm going to see a list of all of my users. And within this list, I'll be able to see if I've sent an invitation and if anyone has actually logged in yet. If you create a number of users and want to invite them in bulk, you can go ahead and from this view, click on the envelope icon in your icon toolbar in the top right-hand corner. Click on Invite into AmpliFund, and then you'll be able to send an invitation in bulk to all these users. So that's how we create different users in our AmpliFund account. It's going to the administration section, going to users, creating our user by clicking on the plus sign, entering in their first name, last name, and email address, and then inviting them in. Once we have our users created, then we want to start exploring where we can view our award and how I can view and edit specific details of my award. So I'm going to go to the grant management section here. Click on grants. And then we'll be able to see our grant award here. One additional item that I wanted to indicate regarding users is that you can have you can set up a user that would be able to submit drawdown only. So if you wanted to have someone set up where they can only access and submit a drawdown and not any of the other awards or any of the other information within the system, then you can set them up with this next step where you can create them as a user, and then you can add them in as the recipient grant manager there as well. So I'll show you how to do that. It's actually our next step when we're looking at how to go ahead and how to add in to view the different details of our award and how to edit this award as well. So let's talk about editing the award and viewing the actual award that we've been granted. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on the name of my award here. And you'll notice when you click on the award, you see a number of details. So you're going to see the name of the award. You'll see your name here, your organization's name. Clearly, I'll just use some information for examples only. Here, you'll be able to get a glimpse just kind of on this details page, on this initial view of the total amount that you were awarded, if there's any cash match, and then the total budget amount based on the funded amount plus the match. Here we have a number of fields that are dynamic. What I mean by dynamic is that they begin to update as soon as we start doing some reporting. So for example, if we start adding in expenses later on, when we start submitting drawdown requests later on, these fields here are going to update with the information that's included. So if I expense $20,000 here, then that'll show up in my expenses to date. So these fields are all going to show up initially as 0, but will begin to reflect the different activities that have taken place related to these labels as time goes on. If you scroll down, you see specific award information. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see really important pieces of information, such as the responsible person and grant manager. These are designations for your DED housing staff members. The names here should definitely look familiar to you and will serve as being on the record as your DED program rep. You'll also have a recipient grant manager field. Now, this is something that you'll want to fill out, and I'll get to how we edit this page and how we fill out and indicate who the recipient grant manager is here in a second. I just wanted to review some of the other details of the award first that we're looking at. Our award identification number, which is assigned to you from DED, you'll be able to see that here. You'll be able to see the important dates, like your start and the end date of your program. A lot of descriptive information about the program and about your award that comes through from the NAHTF program itself. And then budget information, such as total awarded amount, the total funded amount from DED, as well as the total amount of match. So if I wanted to go ahead and if I wanted to edit this page so that I can add in my recipient grant manager, which is actually a task that's going to be assigned to you that you'll see once you log in, then in order to edit this page, you'll go ahead and you'll click on the pencil icon in the top right-hand corner here to edit this. Now, one thing that you'll notice as you click edit and as it brings up the rest of this page here is that there's not a lot that you can actually edit. You can't change your award name here. You can't change who your responsible person. This is all DED information. What you can change is you can create an internal name that if you and other staff members refer to this in a particular way, you'll be able to do that here via the recipient award name. You'll also be able to indicate who the grant manager is. So this is another reason why it's really important to add in all those users, because the options that you have here in order to add in who the recipient grant manager is, these all populate from your users list. So if they're not added as a user, you will not be able to select them here from the drop-down list. So there was a little bit of sequence, that was involved there when I added the user first, and then when I went ahead and I tried to add in the recipient grant manager. So if I maybe want to add in that new user that we just added in together, I can go ahead and click on her name. And that's my recipient grant manager. Other fields that I can actually edit here is the description. So if you wanted to provide a description of your award, you can absolutely go ahead and you can do that. It's definitely up to you, and it's not something that's required by the DED staff, but if you wanted to provide that here, you could. Once you've added in your recipient grant manager here in this field, you can go ahead and click on the Save button to lock in that change. So again, adding the recipient grant manager, you go to Grant Management, Grants, you click on the grant name, and it brings you to this details page. And then you go into the top right-hand corner of your icon toolbar, you click on Edit, and then that's going to allow you to choose who the grant manager is from your organization. And then you click on the Save button to lock that change. Now, another thing that I'm going to point out here is the action of adding in and indicating who the recipient grant manager is actually something that is going to be assigned to you as a required action by DED staff. Now, you'll receive an email notification that you've been assigned a task to add in recipient grant manager. So once you've done this, you'll be able to access those tasks and you'll be able to indicate that that task has been completed. And the way that you're going to access your tasks is by going to the Tools drop-down menu, clicking on Tasks. And within this view, you'll see that task listed there. There's also going to be a couple of other tasks for completing your budget and completing your performance plan. Here we have one for adding the recipient grant manager. We've gone ahead and we've added the recipient grant manager. So all you have to do to indicate to DED that you've completed this task is to go to this check mark, click on the check mark there. Are you sure you want to mark the task as complete? Click Mark as Complete. You get a success box indicating that the task has been completed, and you'll also be able to see here on your task status column that this task has been completed. So if you're ever confused or if you're unsure or if you don't remember if a task has been completed or not, you'll be able to always reference your task status column and you'll be able to see which tasks have been completed and which ones have not. So now that we've seen how to add in the recipient grant manager and then access the tasks to indicate that that's been done. And remember, we access the tasks by going to Tools, Tasks, brought it to this page, and then I was able to mark the task as complete by clicking the check mark. If you have a scenario where maybe you want others within your organization to be able to maybe review the grant or look at something. You want to create tasks for others within your organization, you will absolutely be able to do that by clicking on the plus sign to create a new task. So if you wanted to create a task for any individuals within your particular organization, then you'd be able to do that. So now that we've added in the recipient grant manager, we viewed the award details, I want to go into our budget, and let's take a look at our budget, and let's take a look at how we can start configuring, editing, and adding information into our budget based on what we've discussed and what we've reviewed with our DED program staff. So in order to access the budget, I'm going to go to Post Award, Financial, and Budget. And this is going to bring me to a page that has all of my budget categories and my line items. And again, as I mentioned, this is carrying over from our application. So everyone's budget is going to look a little bit different. This is just the example that I'm using for today. Your budget is based on what you populated, what you filled out in your application, whether it was a housing or a technical assistance program, whatever your program is for. Again, it's going to vary what comes through here in the different categories and the different line items. So the first thing that you can do is you'll notice that all of the categories from the budget template are present here. Now you may not be using all of the categories. So you do have the option, it's not required, but if it's a little bit more visually easier for you, you do have the option to delete any categories that you're not using. So if you know that you're using, new construction, home buyer assistance, if you're not using technical assistance because it's not a TA activity, then you can go ahead and you can click on the trash can and you can delete your budget category. So it's not required to delete the budget categories you're not using. However, if it's something that you wanted to do, then you can absolutely do that. And upon deleting a category, it won't show up here anymore in your budget view. Your budget view is going to be broken down by categories and line items. So what's important here is to make sure that all the categories are edited to add in the correct dollar amount that we're spending for a particular category. And then also all line items are either edited or added to account for spending on a particular budget. So for example, everything that I'm looking at here, I need to make sure that my new construction category has the correct amount allocated. And if I just hover my mouse over the name of the category, it's going to show me what my current budget amount is. So right now it's showing up at 0. We definitely know that we want to add in more. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to click on the pencil icon to edit this category. And that's how we're going to be able to add dollars to our budget category. So I'm going to click on the pencil icon here. And this is where it's going to allow me to indicate how much I want to spend for this category. Now, if you have match that's involved here as well, then your total budget amount should be your grant funded amount plus match. So for example, if on new construction, I'm spending $30,000 and I'm spending $30,000 of DED money, and I'm also matching with $10,000, then the total budgeted amount is going to be $40,000. And you'll be able to break out, how much of that is match and how much is grant funded on the line item level. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Especially if you're utilizing match here, you want to leave your match to enable. And you'll be able to go ahead and click on save. So When you edit your budget category here, you want to make sure that you're putting in the total budget amount for the category. It's going to be grant funded plus match should go here. So again, I have 30,000 grant funded, 10,000 match, total of $40,000 budgeted. Cash match leaving on enable because I know that on my line items, I'm going to want to be able to account for match there. So now that I've added this dollar amount to the category, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on save. And again, once I click save, I can hover my mouse over the name of the category and I can see, okay, I've entered in $40,000. So now what I can do is I can either add a new line item by clicking on the plus sign, or I can edit my existing line item. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this housing construction line item that came over from the application. And this is where I want to indicate that I'm spending that $40,000. So again, here I'm just going to have one line item that indicates the total amount of spending for new construction. It's up to you if you want to have multiple line items per category. That is not a requirement. You can either have one that's just general for your new construction that has all the entire amount of the category, or you can have it broken down by line item. And I'll show a couple of different examples. So in this first example, that $40,000 that we have allocated for new construction, I just want to have one general line item for housing construction that I'm going to put here. So my direct cost is also going to be $40,000. I'm not going to exclude it from match because I know that 10,000 of this is a match contribution. Here you can put in a description. So you can indicate in detail what's actually this is going to be spent on. Here you'll be able to assign a responsible individual for the line item. This is just a person that's labeled on the line item. And again, this is going to come from your users list. So keep that in mind. The financials tab here is where you're going to be able to indicate how much of this $40,000 is cash match. So you can either enter that in as a dollar or a percentage. The easiest thing for me is I know that $10,000 of this $40,000 is match. So I'm just going to click on dollar. I'm going to put in $10,000. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on save. And now I can see I have this grant funded column and I have $30,000. Now, I also know that I can see the total cost is $40,000. So a really good thing to do when you're looking at your budget, if you want to look at the full picture, the full breakdown, is if you go here under this options section, you see there's this match column. I would turn the match column on. That way, you get a clearer picture here of your budget where you can see, okay, the total amount is $40,000, $10,000 of that is match, $30,000 is grant funded. And you proceed accordingly. The steps to edit budget categories, edit line items throughout the rest of your grant budget is the same as what you've done here. So for example, on my home buyer assistance, I need to edit this category to make sure I have the correct dollar amount here on the category level. So for home buyer assistance, we're going to spend $50,000. Again, grant funded plus match. Leave match to enable. Click on save. And here I have my home buyer assistance. So I'm going to click on this line item to edit it and to add a dollar amount here. So here under home buyer assistance, I'm actually going to break this up. So I'm going to have my home buyer assistance, $25,000 for this particular line item. And I want this to be a 100% match. So I'm either going to say that as a dollar amount, my cash match amount is $25,000, or you can say percentage, and make it 100%. Either way works, because when you save the line item, it breaks it out accordingly. That I've spent $25,000 on, that I have $25,000 allocated to this home buyer assistance, and it's all allocated towards match. If you wanted to add an additional line item within the same category, you can go ahead and click on the plus sign. And this is going to allow you to add a new category. Name a new line item, I'm sorry. Name your line item accordingly. Type in the direct cost. Again, it's going to be match plus the grant funded amount. Indicate who the responsible individual is. You can type in a description if you want. Indicate how much of this is match. I'm going to leave this one where it's not, where there's no match amount here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on create. And now I see I have my second line item under my category. This one is 25,000. I can see this one 25,000 grant funded. My other line item is 25,000 match. It's still totaling up correctly. So you can always reference, this budget view here, this table, to see how you're spending and how the breakdown is. You can also scroll all the way down. You can see breakdowns of what you've added so far here. And your total revenue budget will show the total awarded amount that you have and the total match amount that's been approved as well. So a lot of good options here when you're looking at your budget to ensure that you're always aware of what you've added in already, how much of what you've added in is a grant funded amount versus a match amount. And then you'll always be able to reference the totals down here by looking at your grant funded award amount, your match amount, and then your total overall budget here as well. Now, editing and adding items into your budget are actually actions that are also going to be indicated by a task. So once you've completed your budget, then you can go back into your tools and your tasks section, just like where we were before, and you'll have a task there that says edit, edit budget, and you'll be able to mark that task as complete. And that'll notify DED staff that that task has been marked as complete. So once we've gone through and we've looked at the grant budget and we've edited the budget, we've made sure that it's consistent with what we've talked about in the review process, and it's consistent with what we want to propose and what we want to submit to DED staff. We can do the same thing with our performance plan. The performance plan can be accessed via the post-award drop-down menu up here. Under performance, and you can go to performance plan. So within your performance plan here, and again, what you see within your performance plan will vary based on the activity you applied for, and what you proposed in your application. But what you'll see here in the performance plan is a list of all the goals that you added in your application. What you can do here is you can go ahead and you can edit your performance plan goal. So if I want to look at, we have our new homes constructed goal that I proposed. If I said one thing in the application and maybe now I've changed that, or I want to indicate that it's going to be something else, I can click on the pencil icon to edit this performance plan goal. And here is going to show me what I proposed within the application. I can actually go ahead and I can change this, again, based on that review process that you're going through. You can say, I'm actually, not going to do 3, we're going to do 4. You can go ahead and make that change here. You can also add in or you can extend upon a description here. And you can change the responsible individual based on who would be responsible for this based on within your organization. And once you're done making any changes, you can go ahead and click on Save. And that's how you would save and go through and you'd look at and save that particular performance plan goal that you changed and that you've indicated there. So that's one thing to do. For reference purposes, there is a user guide that will be available and that will be shared. That user guide is going to walk through all of the different scenarios and all of the different performance plan goal types based on the activity that you were awarded and how to build those out. There's one particular goal type that everyone will have to add, whether it's a housing project or a TA project, and that is the project description goal. So in order to add in that performance plan goal, you're going to go into the top right-hand corner, this icon toolbar, and you click on the plus sign. Upon clicking on the plus sign, you'll go to the name and you'll click project description. And again, you'll have a user guide that breaks down exactly how to do this and what, how you'll name the goals and, what goal type you should choose. The project description goal is going to allow you to provide whatever the project description is and how that may change throughout the life of the program. So in your goal type, you're going to want to choose narrative because the way that you'll be reporting against this is going to be a narrative goal. And you'll choose, again, a responsible individual. This is going to be somebody that comes from your organization. And within the question here, you'll type in current project description. You'll be able to create this performance plan goal here by clicking on Create. And as you're adding in progress over the life of the grant, which we'll go through in a separate session later on when we talk about reporting, you'll be able to indicate the project description. So again, it's important to note here that you can go to any one of your performance plan goals. If you need to change any of the details or any of the information, you can click on the pencil icon to edit a goal. If you want to create a new performance plan goal, you can go ahead and you can click on the plus icon to create the icon toolbar in the top right-hand corner. And once you're done creating your performance plan goals, then you'll want to go into your tools. In your task section, you'll want to indicate by checking the check mark on your task that editing the performance plan has been completed. So again, to access the performance plan, post-award, performance plan. It's going to bring us to this page here. You can edit and you can add by utilizing either the pencil icon or the plus sign here. So some of the things that we've gone through already today were how to add in users to our AmpliFund account. We did that in the administration System Security Users section. We've also looked at how to view our award, edit the budget, and edit the performance plan. And all of that took place within the Grant Management Grant section by looking at our award. If you want to go back and look at your award details, you can click on this Details tab at the top part of your screen at any time and view those award details. One of the other items that you'll be able to complete, as I mentioned previously in the slides portion of today's presentation, is you'll be able to access and complete special conditions within AmpliFund. In order to access those special conditions forms, you'll be able to go to the Custom tab, and you'll be able to see any special conditions forms that apply to your award and to your project. So if I wanted to go ahead and complete my grantee information, for example, my grantee information sheet, I just go click on the special conditions grantee information sheet. That's going to take me to the section that's going to allow me to create a grantee information sheet. So I go to the top right-hand corner, click on the plus sign. This is going to create my special condition form and allow me to enter into it in order for DED housing staff to review. So you'll type in your grant number here. I'm just going to type in some example information. You'll be able to fill this out just like you would your other special conditions forms here by going through and entering directly into the sheet. Put in the contact person name. You'll be able to scroll through, enter in all information into this form, upload where uploads are required. Once all required fields within a form are filled out, you'll be able to go and click on Create. And that is the act of creating your special conditions form and also entering into it. And then if you ever wanted to edit the form or if you needed to review something, you could always just click back into it. Click on Edit to edit the information that you've entered into this page as well. Once you've populated information here on your special conditions form, DED housing staff will have access to view it. So you'll be filling this out electronically, and you'll be corresponding on completed special conditions. That'll all happen within AmpliFund. When you're ready to go to your other special conditions form, when you're ready to work on a different one, you can just go to that Custom tab here, find whichever special conditions form you're ready to fill out, click into it, go through the same process. In order to create and start filling out one of these special conditions forms, you go to the plus sign, and you start moving through the form, uploading documentation where applicable, filling out all the different pieces of information within the special conditions. I also mentioned that one of the pieces of functionality that you'll be able to take advantage of is the ability to view documents shared with you by DED staff and share documentation with them as well. So in order to do that, you'll be able to go into the Tools drop-down menu, click on Documents. So within this Documents folder, one thing that you'll be able to do is you'll be able to also upload and save any documentation that you want to store internally that you don't want DED to view. You'll notice that when I click into Tools and Documents, I see a public folder here. So only if I go into this public folder this is the folder where I'll see shared documentation from DED and where I'll be able to upload documents for them. If you want to just have any data, uploads, anything stored for internal purposes only, then without clicking into the public folder, you can go ahead and you can upload a document by clicking the Upload Documents button, or you can create a folder by clicking on the Create Folder icon. If you want to go into the folder where information is shared between you and DED, then you go into the public folder. So if they've shared anything with you, you would see that here through the public folder. If you want to upload a document for them, then you can go ahead and click on the Upload Documents icon in the top right-hand corner. That's going to allow you to choose from from within your desktop or within any files you have on your computer, which documents you want to upload here. And you'll be able to upload that document and you'll be able to save it into the public folder for DED to view. You can upload either documents or you can also create folders. Anything that gets uploaded in this public folder here will be visible to DED staff. So keep that in mind. You want to share documents, you would do that through your documents public folder here. So what we've gone through today is how to create users. We've gone through how to view our awards, how to edit our awards. We've also looked at how to edit the budget, add line items, edit the categories, add in performance plans, how to complete those tasks, how to access our documents folder, and how to access and fill out our special conditions forms as well. One thing that I do want to point out, and that's really important, is in terms of resources, you have a user guide that's available to you by going to opportunity.nebraska.gov/AmpliFund. You go down to the NAHTF section, you'll be able to access user guide here that's very thorough, that will walk you through all the distinct actions that we discussed today. So you'll be able to go through that. I would definitely recommend looking at that user guide, referring to it if you have any questions. And also, you have access to AmpliFund support as well. So the user guide will walk you through the distinct steps that you have to complete. But if you need a technical AmpliFund assistance, if you're getting some kind of validation or warning message or error message that you're confused about, that you're not sure about, and you want to reach out to AmpliFund, then as an AmpliFund recipient, you do have access to support where you can go and you can click on the I icon here, the help and support icon within your options toolbar. That's going to present you with two options to access our support staff. The first option is going to be the link to our support site, which has a lot of general documentation, not anything specific to Nebraska users or the NAHTF program. So here you'll just see a lot of general information. Again, if you're looking for a desk guide or if you're looking for some guidance, I would recommend utilizing the guide that's provided on the opportunity.nebraska.gov website. You also have the ability to submit a support ticket to AmpliFund customer support. So by clicking on that help and support, you can start a support ticket here. That's going to have your name, your email address. Here you can type in the subject where you can indicate, essentially what your question is. Type in a description. Just using an example. You can also, if you're getting some kind of message or if there's something that's off to you, you can attach a screenshot to provide to our support staff. Submitting a support ticket to our customer success team will go out to our customer success representatives who will be able to answer those questions. We have a turnaround time of about 2 hours on that. In terms of answering the question, the more information you provide here, the easier it is for us to provide an answer. And then the support hours for AmpliFund customer support are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time. If you submit a ticket off hours, it's just going to get picked up right away the next morning, or when hours open. So you always have this option for help and support if you run into something within AmpliFund that you're confused about. Also, again, the user guide, the documentation, and how to go about the different steps that's on opportunity.nebraska.gov/AmpliFund is a really good resource, and it walks through everything that we've gone through in detailed steps. So at this point, I'll pause, and if there's any questions that have come in, or if anyone has any questions, now would be a good time to submit those, and we can review any questions that anyone may have. And as we're going through and as you're submitting questions, I did want to just point out these slides have some important information regarding support. Again, it references the AmpliFund support site and how to submit a support ticket. So if you're not within AmpliFund, you can also submit a support ticket by emailing support@amplifund.zendesk.com. So keep that in mind as you're going through. Our support site is amplifund.zendesk.com. Here's some important URLs as well. How to log on to AmpliFund, our support site, and then also that opportunity.nebraska.gov.
Hi, Dan. This is Lynn. I don't see any questions in the chat box, and I know Evan was monitoring those. I think we have one specific question, and I think that was forwarded to you that we can, it's specific to a project that we can probably take offline. But I don't see any questions the group has. Barb Pierce, I don't know if you can see your chat box, Dan, but I think Barb may have sent you some.
Yep.
If you wanted to go over her questions, if they're appropriate for everybody.
Okay. Yep, I'm just reading the questions now. Under tasks, there's a description and a question. Please explain the difference. Yes, so this refers back to the performance plan goals, and I'll just take this back into AmpliFund. Give me a second, I'll transition my screen back. Yes, so in performance plan goals here, post-award performance plan. This project description goal, there's the description and the question. So the question submitted is, what's the difference between the two? And essentially the difference between the two is the description field will appear on every performance plan goal. So every performance plan goal, you will be allowed to indicate a description for that goal. The question only appears because it's a narrative goal type. So what we're looking for here is down the road when reporting starts to come into play, we're going to want project description goals to be answered in a narrative form. And in order for that to happen, there has to be this question box that's required. So that's why we put, since it's a required field and description isn't, that's why we put the question in here on the performance plan under question instead of under the description, just because in order for a narrative goal to be generated and a narrative response to be required, there has to be a question posed. So in this scenario, the question that's going to be answered, through reporting throughout the project is what's the project description? Has it changed? And that's going to be answered in a narrative format. So that's the difference on this type of performance goal. That is the difference between the description and the question. In terms of the program guidelines that are being uploaded within the special conditions, that is where any documents that are uploaded in those special conditions forms will be accessible within that form. So there's not an additional documents folder that gets generated where you'll be able to see that information. So if you know that your recipient has gone in and if they have completed a special conditions form that has uploads and you want to see those uploads, you will have to go to that custom tab, click into the form, and you'll be able to view the upload from there. And you'll be able to click on the upload and save it onto your desktop or download it and view it. An additional question was about housing staff receiving notifications when items have been marked as complete. So an automatic email notification does not get generated when a task is marked as complete. However, as a program rep, as the housing rep on that grant, you'll be able to look at the award and you'll be able to see which tasks have been completed. So you'll have that same view where you'll be able to understand and you'll be able to review if the task has been completed or not. So there's not an automatic email that goes to you, but you will be able to view the progress that is taking place on that grant. Another question about the performance plan goals and specific due dates. Will you be able to see the due dates for your different performance plan goals? It's a really good question. So when you're looking at your performance plan goal, for example, I can see that this is a milestone goal, meaning that there's a due date for the milestone goal. I can click on it and it's going to show me here due date for this particular goal. So you'll see all of your due dates if you click on the name of the goal itself. That's a good way to go in. That's a good way to be able to see all of the different due dates that you have for your particular milestone goals. The milestone goals indicate that you'll be able to view date fields. Numeric goals, again, are goals that are tracked with numbers. And then those narrative goals allow you to view any progress, like that project description, and being able to track that. And then another option for your milestone goals is if you look here in the top right hand, if you look at the top corner, you have an analytics tab. And by clicking on that analytics tab, you'll be presented with a dashboard. And here on that dashboard, you'll be able to see a lot of information specific to your expenses. And there's no expenses that have been reported yet. So this is what your dashboard will look like. But it's also a good way to view the specific dates within your performance plan. So this is a good way to view all of your milestone goals. So you'll be able to see all the goals and all the dates. That's by going to this analytics tab right here. Also, if you really like this dashboard, you can, if you notice here, when you're in this is the analytics tab. When you're in the analytics tab, you can go in the top right-hand corner and click make homepage, and you can make this the homepage that you look at when you log in instead of the calendar. So this is where you'll see the dates for those performance plan goals. I mentioned tasks before, and we looked at, an example of one of those tasks that you'll be receiving. These tasks have due dates on them, and these tasks will show up on your calendar. So this is the way to see the due dates for specific tasks that are assigned to you by DED staff.
Dan, you've answered a lot of good questions. Are there any other last minute questions before we have 15 minutes? But if there's no more questions, I don't think we have to hold on. Anybody have anything? I don't see anything coming in through the chat. Evan or Dan, are you guys getting anything?
No, I don't have anything else coming through.
Dan, do you have anything else you wanted to share with us? Or
No,
we can't end early if nobody has questions.
I don't have anything
Great.
else. I just wanted to remind everybody, opportunity.nebraska.gov/AmpliFund is going to have the resources with the documentation. The user guide is really specific. It's very detailed. So I would definitely recommend referencing that and reaching out to AmpliFund support if you have any other questions. And aside from that, I don't have anything. I just appreciate everyone's time today.
This has been great. And if people do have questions, after we hang up and you think of something, reach out to your program rep. I would say would be your first stop. And if your program rep can't help you, then we'll encourage you to connect with AmpliFund, or we'll help you connect with AmpliFund. So it's been good. It's been fun, Dan. We'll look forward to more trainings.
I agree.
All right. Thank you. I'll let Evan end it if we don't think there's anything else. Thank you, Dan. Thank
Thanks,
you, everybody,
everybody
for joining.